Welcome, it's me Joe Egassy, and in this one it's all about gain staging. I'm first briefly explaining you the concept, and afterwards I'm gonna show you a channel with a lot of different plugins and how I did the gain stage right there. Okay, gain staging means nothing more than putting the right volume for your elements. And this hasn't to do a lot with the actual fader setting, but with the volume before the fader. So it's the volume which every sample has, or the output volume of your synthesizers. And then as well the volume changes in your plugins. I think it's best to start with an example, but first listen to the track. Here at the beginning of our kick of the drop, I'm gonna add now a noise burst. So I'm usually using for noise effects silence. And draw in here a small pattern and just put note. And then I'm gonna put here in silence the first oscillator to noise. Okay, so then let me as well rename the track. Put in the right color. And listen to it. As you heard, this is way too loud. And you see here as well on the meter that it goes nearly to 0 decibels. My gain staging value I use in every production is minus 12 decibels. Other people's may use minus 10 or minus 8. But with minus 12, you are always safe to go. So let's open the synthesizer and adjust the output volume so that we peak here at exactly 12 decibels. So you may notice as well that up from the 12 decibel lines the color changes to yellow. I set it up in the Cubase preferences. You can go to coloring appearance, to metering appearance, and you can set a color change at a certain level. This helps me to really see immediately if I'm at my reference level. Now I'm adding a plugin. Let's go for outer space. I'm gonna take here the Echo 4 preset and do a little bit more of echo and a longer echo on it. You see that it's now actually getting a little bit louder, because most plugins are adding volume. So let's reduce the output volume here a little bit, to be again at more or less minus 12 decibels. It's important to set the right level for two reasons. The first one is because we are adding up all the different channels of the track to our master. I can show you this right now. Let's go to the mixer, and here we have our master section. So let's play the track. The peaks here are going well above minus 12, which is logical because we are adding several different elements which are at minus 12. So we are peaking usually around minus 6, which is plenty of headroom for the mastering. You really don't want it, and I can't stress this enough, your master to be clipping. Because even if you then put down the volume of your master fader, you just put down a clipped signal, because the signal is already clipped before the fader. I know that some DAWs and plugins support floating point processing, where they actually can go over 0 decibels. But there are as well a lot of plugins which do not use this feature, and some plugins which emulate analog equipment and will distort nonetheless. So for optimal sound quality, you must be sure to never be clipping. And another thing about gain staging is that you do not want your plugins to change the volume of the track. So if you use compression, saturation or so, you want to get the effect of the plugin but at the same volume. Because then you first of all don't add up volume that you are clipping later on, and you can compare it by bypassing. Because there is this psychoacoustic effect that most of the time a louder signal is perceived to sound better, even if it doesn't. Let me show you that with the kick drum. Let's solo it. So the kick drum is on this channel, but it's getting buzzed to this one, so the processing is done right here. As you see here, I've put my gain stage so that it is exactly at -12, and then it goes through all these processes and comes out as around roughly -12 as well. I just muted all the plugins and I'm gonna now put them on after each other, and you're gonna see that the volume will not change. So you're hearing exactly what the plugin is doing with the sound. So let's just open this compressor. So if I put in our setting, I can easily compare it by using the bypass function. In order to achieve this, I used the output volume knob here. I know there are a couple of plugins which do not have this output volume, which is a shame, but fortunately most of the plugins have. So I just go in and put my settings in, and then afterwards I usually put the volume down. It may be as well the case that the volume drops, so you put it louder. The general idea is that when your fader is at 0, you should always be at your gain stage level, which is in my case -12 decibels. There's just one exception to this rule, and this is if you are deliberately overdriving a plugin or an audio processor to get its distorted sound. But don't take this as an excuse to just overdrive everything in your DAW. If you wanna know more about constructively using the distortion sound of certain plugins, I've done a video about it, which is linked up here. But for now, this is all I wanted to tell you about gain staging. If you learned something, consider liking and subscribing, and see you in the next one.